Alright guys, and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the possibilities of Classic Plus happening in the probably quite distant future. So to be honest guys, I actually do think Classic Plus is very likely to happen because of a recent survey that was released by Blizzard. They essentially released a survey to a number of people kind of putting the vibe out about Fresh Classic, but also Fresh Classic with changed features. And you know, we had stuff like this before TBC was released. I think we even had surveys like this before Classic WoW was released, and then obviously Classic WoW and TBC Classic have now happened. So I think for those Classic, you know, WoW fans out there who would have preferred, you know, the raid content to be more difficult and, you know, several other changes, then obviously this is right up your street. And yeah, personally, I think it is very likely to happen. So let's have a look at some of the questions, because some of the basically teased changes are actually quite interesting. So first of all, we've got summoning stones at dungeon entrances, which, let's be honest, is a welcome change. Then you've got more difficult raid bosses and dungeon encounters. Okay, the specific thing with dungeon encounters there is interesting. Maybe they would think about including heroic dungeons, like heroic versions of Blackrock Depths, Lower Blackrock Spire and Skullman's, etc. That would be pretty cool. And obviously, furthermore, heroic versions of raids, or just make the default raid difficulty more difficult. Maybe even add particular mechanics to make the raid fights just a little bit more fresh and interesting. Problem I can see with the increased difficulty is that compositions will become even more min-max unless they do something about class changes. They haven't really leaked anything or hinted at anything about class changes, but yeah, in my opinion, if the raids are more difficult, it will encourage people to recruit less, you know, support specs like Enhancement Shaman, Boomkin, etc. But what they have hinted at is increasing the debuff limit on raid bosses. So with the increased debuff limit, it may increase the viability of particular specs that you haven't seen before, like for instance an Affliction Warlock, because Affliction Warlock DPS isn't actually that bad, you just can't, you know, put up all of your dots. They also hint at, you know, gimmicky things like the barbershop and not having world buffs active in raids, which would obviously be another very welcome change for the majority of people who played Classic WoW. They also hint at faster XP rates. Now, that's probably quite a controversial one, because I think a lot of people do like the slow burn of Classic WoW leveling. Me personally, I think the appeal of Classic WoW leveling is more about the sense of exploration, adventure, and how the game encourages you to group up with people in the open world, make friends, you know, to accomplish particular objectives like group elite quests and everything like that. For me, the essence of it isn't how long it takes. I think that's actually probably a little bit of a disadvantage to it, but that's talking from someone who's literally leveled, you know, 1 to 60 with the default vanilla XP rates about 5 or 6 times within the past 5 years. So personally, I wouldn't mind a slightly faster XP rate. I don't think I'd actually play Classic Plus if it came out without faster XP rates, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. The survey hinted at other interesting changes, like a faster release schedule. So apparently, you know, they're calling it a cadence, that must be what they call it, but whatever. So a release schedule of, you know, the default one, 21 to 22 months, or having a 12-month release schedule, which will probably be a little bit more welcome for most people, because these days people can clear the content extremely fast, or an accelerated 6-month schedule, which in my opinion is a little too fast. Another change that really lights my candle is the original Altura Valley. I think if Classic Plus came out with the original Altura Valley, I'd be rolling a Warlock just to play Altura Valley non-stop. Probably because I just loved old school Altura Valley so much and only got to experience it very briefly on the old Nostalgia servers, and it's probably one of the most fun elements of Classic WoW. I know I'm probably quite weird for thinking that, but yeah, I just used to love old school Altura Valley where the battlegrounds would go on for hours and hours and hours. They also hint at increased drop rate on particular items and extra gold rates. Don't really understand why they've hinted at that. I don't think it's really needed that much. Maybe because, You know, if you've got a server with a faster release schedule, you will need certain items to have a high chance of drop, and you will need to earn gold a little bit faster, but in my opinion, I don't think stuff like that is really needed. It wasn't needed on private servers or anything like that. And then they also hint at a black market auction house for vanity items, which I'm not really entirely very keen on, to be honest. I don't know how that would affect the economy of a Classic Plus server. I just don't think Classic WoW fans really care about stuff like the black market auction house. And I don't know what vanity items would be included with that. Like, would it just be BlizzCon items from back from 2004 or something? I mean, I think the addition of extra collectible cosmetic items would be quite welcome, like perhaps more mounts that can drop from particular raids, because let's be honest, everyone is obsessed with mounts, and more stuff like that. But yeah, I'm not really highly keen on the idea of a black market auction house. What I find interesting is how we've heard about Classic Plus before we've heard any news about Wrath of the Lich King release. Obviously it's very early to get any news about Wrath of the Lich King, but what is kind of like worrying me slightly is how is the Classic Plus release, if it is ever going to happen, how is that going to interfere with a Wrath of the Lich King release? Or is the plan for a fresh Classic Plus server much further into the future when people are done with Wrath of the Lich King? Or is it going to come out kind of like in the middle of the Burning Crusade release schedule? I mean, who knows, maybe Blizzard's very long-term plan is to have, you know, every single expansion have available servers for people to play on, but they have accelerated features which allow people to clear the content faster, therefore people can be kind of flexible about what expansions they play when it comes to playing classic era servers. I mean, to be honest, I wouldn't mind something like that, like the flexibility to just kind of play on multiple different expansions, multiple different servers, and with features that actually allow me to actually do that without feeling like I can't have the time to play on 2 different servers. You may think that, you know, why would people want to be jumping around different expansions and things like that, and just people won't want to do that. But at the end of the day, people have been doing it on private servers for years and years. And it would be very nice if Blizzard basically provided a home for people who normally do play private servers because they want to satisfy the itch of playing particular expansions and they have no love of retail, which is basically me and many other people, and then we won't have to play crappy private servers and we will have the option to play on official Blizzard servers. And overall, I think that would be a good idea for Blizzard to implement, but I think I've definitely talked enough now. My name is MetaGoblin. Until my next video, ciao.